our vision, our roadmap for logic apps is to democratize integration.
Going live. Okay, we should be live. Awesome. Great. Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our first ever Logic Apps Live webcast. We're really excited to be doing this. This is the first time we've been doing it, so we hope that you stay engaged, you let us know how it goes, and hopefully we'll be doing more of these. We will be doing one next month and the month after, and we're really excited. To get started, let me just introduce myself. I'm Jeff Holland. I'm a program manager here in Azure for Logic Apps, and I'm joined today by Kevin.
I'm Kevin Lamb. I'm a principal program manager on Logic Apps, and I'm excited to share some stuff later on at the end of the broadcast on what we're doing in the future.
That's right, some cool stuff that we've both released and stuff that's coming up. So this is a really simple Logic app that I'll just walk through quickly. And what this Logic app is doing is you'll see I've got a beginning. I have two actions. These are both just using the Microsoft SQL connector that comes with Logic Apps. And what this first action does is it's going to do a select to see if I already have a customer with this email address that I'm going to pass in. And I know if I already have a customer with this email address, for this purpose, I'm going to say they're already in the database. I don't want to duplicate the entry. So in the second step, it's going to receive the output of this first step. And I have a condition here. You notice it says, if this is empty, so if my first step was empty, then go ahead and insert the customer in. But what's nice about this is if I do this first step and I return a user, which means it's already in the database, Logic Apps is automatically going to skip this second step. I'm not going to get duplicate data. There it goes. Live. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to our monthly Logic Apps webcast. We're exciting. This is kind of a very special episode of Azure Logic Apps Live.
Yes.
So we're excited to be here to go over some exciting announcements. Logic Apps reached general availability yesterday, so that's the big one. We're very excited as a team. Yep, big day for everyone. The first one I want to show is just run monitoring view. So I have all these runs that have been running for this Logic app. You can see it even ran this morning at 11 a.m., which is interesting because this is the text message Logic app. So someone's still texting this phone number to trigger this Logic app. But when I open this Logic app, what it's actually running is this run monitoring view, which is going to load up the designer so that we can see the different steps of our workflow. And let me maximize this since this is a little bit bigger one. But I can see all of the pieces that happened within this workflow. I can click into them to see what the different statuses were. I can see the inputs and outputs. We're not planning on stopping at all. We're going to continue to improve the platform. But at the same time, it is a generally available service. You can bet your money on this, right? You can put production workloads on Logic Apps. You can trust that it's going to be up and reliable and do all those things that you need it to do. While at the same time, we're going to make sure that we're continuing and evolving and adding the features that you care about most. So keep that channel open with us. Let us know what you care about, what you want to see us work on next.
Hi, I'm Scott Hanselman. It's another episode of Azure Friday. I'm here right now with Kevin Lamb and Jeff Holland. How's it going?
Awesome.
Great. So Logic Apps, it's now GA. That means general availability. So it's released.
That's right.
So what's going on? What's new with Logic Apps right now?
Well, everything is new. We've done a lot of work to transition it from our preview and added a lot of great features to it. And one of the things that we're doing with Logic Apps is really pushing the whole integration story in the cloud with Azure and having Logic Apps as that core of that integration story.
Okay.
So I'm going to have Logic Apps handle all this for me, and I actually want to get an email whenever someone submits a form, and I want to be able to flag whether or not it's a bug or whether or not it's just a comment. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and add an action. And you see here, now we have the nice long list of all of the actions we support.
I like the new designer.
Yeah, it's much more pleasant than the last one we saw a few months ago.
Yeah, it's intuitive. All right, so what does that mean, enterprise integration?
What does that mean? Well, what that means is we have a number of features that are new. They previewed in the end of June for Logic Apps, which are around enterprise scenarios. So these are really two key pieces, which are XML processing and validation and transformation that people have to do, and typically enterprises have to do these things to transform one message format to another, and B2B. And B2B is the kind of protocols that have been around for like a really long time, Edifact, X12, and also AS2 for doing secure communications between business partners.
Yeah, this is stuff that I've had to do, gosh, 12, 13 years ago with BizTalk, and it wasn't super fun, but BizTalk took care of it. And we would kind of left hand, right hand, we always called it. Pull this from the left hand, put that to the right hand. Transformation work.
That's right, yeah, and it's really around, how do we cloud enable those types of processes which have typically resided on premises, and then how do we get these running in the cloud? Because especially for like B2B, that data is leaving the organization anyway and going to a business partner, so it's an ideal place to be able to run these workloads in a scalable way, massive scale in Azure, and getting all the flexibility and connectivity as well as access to other Azure services that you get in Logic Apps, all kind of as part of the overall process.
Presumably also an opportunity to bring in more new things like OneDrive or Box
Absolutely,
that didn't exist when we started doing this work in the old days.
Yeah, this is not just about kind of FTP and file anymore. You can take and get stuff from anywhere using any of the Azure services with Logic Apps. Yeah.
All right.
Yep, so if I open up the other artifact that I had on my desktop there, this is a Logic app, which we call a Veta pipeline. So this is, again, a traditional processing pattern for BizTalk where you would take a request, in this case is over HTTP, and then validate that. So I'm going to be receiving XML, or at least I expect to receive valid XML. I'm going to validate that against a schema. And when I open this up, you can see I pick the schema here. There it is, yeah. And if I just click the drop down, I would see all the schemas. I've only got one because there's only one in the integration account. And I pass in, the content that was received, and then I want to do a transformation on it. It works the same way, Here I just specify again the map.
And then I see your function container.
You see my function container.
And I'm asking, where was this 10 years ago? Where was Azure and Logic Apps and all of this great stuff when I was doing this work so many years ago?
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Ho.
Ho. Ho.
Nice. Yes. Well, we didn't practice. We probably should have practiced that one. The big news.
Dum, dum, dum.
Here we go. No build up.
No build up. Yes, we've seen the drum roll or the sleigh bells or something, right? So the Enterprise Integration Pack has GA'd today.
Yay! That really is applause worthy. There's some pretty beefy stuff in here.
There is, yeah. Just if you don't, not familiar with what it is, this is our enterprise integration, kind of business to business, EDI, XML processing, things like mapping, transformation, XML validation, flat file conversion, X12, Edifact, and AS2 processing, as well as the integration account, which lets you manage all of that stuff and upload your schemas and maps and everything.
Good day, everyone.
Good day.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not upside down.
Oh, that's right. Here is our experiment of doing Logic Apps live from Gold Coast, Australia.
Yeah.
We're hoping the quality is good enough that you can see us in this beautiful sun with the beautiful backdrop, that you can hear us with this beautiful microphone. I guess it's probably good they can't really see our faces too well. But yeah, we're live here from Australia Ignite. We've had a great chance to get to talk to a lot of you, to meet with people. We had a session on Wednesday.
Hey there, this is Seth Wires from Channel 9 coming to you from the Washington State Convention Center for the 2017 edition of Build. I'm here with a special guest to talk about Logic Apps.
The first thing it's going to do is do some optical character recognition. It takes that image and parses it out. I'm actually calling an Azure function here to clean it up because I'm not interested in everything in that because it kind of gives me all the kind of labels and everything else. We have a few data operations like parse JSON. Again, I provided schema for this, and this turns what I had, originally as an image. It's going to convert that to JSON. And the reason for doing that is because it makes it very easy to do things like a lookup of the customer. Are they an existing customer, right? I just pass in the company name. You can see it now understands. This was an image, right? It understands now all the different fields in the image.
Wouldn't it be nice if you could connect all the apps and services your business relies on? Welcome to Azure Logic Apps. Easy way to automate many of the workflows you have in place without writing a single line of code.
It's really important for us, though, when we look at why are we here, we really wanted to bring all of our thought leaders to this event. And they're here because they want to meet and talk with you. They want to find out, what are we doing right? What areas do we need to make course corrections on?
I was browsing your store and I love this t-shirt, but it's maybe a size or two small for me. So have you got any other larger ones in stock?
Sure. Let me check that for you really quick. So all I need to do is to point my camera at this barcode. It should be recognized instantly.
The barcode's bigger than the t-shirt.
We went to extensive lengths to make this as realistic as possible.
I'm very excited to announce the private preview of SAP Trigger that would allow you to receive messages from the SAP system into the Logic Apps.
So we have X12 and Edifact support and AS2, and we've had those for a while. We're working on additional B2B formats.
For all your B2B dorks out there.
Yeah, you keep calling me a dork. You realize all you do.
Oh, is that you? I'm sorry. We also have VS Code. Here's that same Logic app. not only can we see, oops, yes, that same logic app, but we've added this new ability to see it in the designer. So we can see it side by side.
You can see I have this inline code action where I can write JavaScript code right from within Logic Apps. I have this token called workflow context that gives me access to all the data that I have from this dynamic content picker. So I can just click on documents and boom, I have this token.
To know where you're going, you really need to know where you've come from. You really need to understand, the mission that we set out to achieve back in 2015, back when we created the Logic Apps team. And the first thing we set out to achieve is really to democratize integration, really to open it up, to take it from being a specialist skill set where only kind of secret knowledge and practitioners who did this full time all the time, we could open this up and provide the same capabilities in a simpler way for different audiences. The second thing we did, we set out, we wanted to be a leader in this space. Microsoft's always been there for the past 20 years. And with various levels of success, not just with BizTalk, but SSIS and other integration products, we really wanted this time to make sure that we got recognized and understood as being heavily invested in this space with you all in terms of what we set out to achieve. And then the third thing was to make sure we built a rich ecosystem around this. And really for us in Logic Apps, this really meant about ubiquitous connectivity, that you didn't have to think about whether we had a connector for that thing, we just had one. There's a connector for that. One continuum. You can start from one place and progress. You can start with Flow, you can move to Logic Apps, you can start with a Power Platform and integrate that with Azure as well. So there's no cliffs, there's no sharp edges, there's no way of getting into trouble with this stuff. You can just dive in and start creating and use the pieces that make sense and bring in more over time as it required. Some of you are at least aware that last year was the first year we actually made it in the Gartner Magic Quadrant, which is our kind of Bible of enterprise integration platform as a service. And this year we did the same thing, which is just fantastic. It was a real validation for us that we're still going in the right direction with all of you in terms of the capabilities we're shipping and the commitment we're making to this space, that we just continue to invest, we continue to ship new features, and we're going to continue to do all of that. And then the third thing is a rich ecosystem. We have nearly 300 connectors today. Far more than we've ever had in the past for any of our server-based products. It's incredible how many connectors we ship every year.
So what you see here, this is the Logic Apps Designer. Hopefully many of you are familiar with this. But what we've done is actually made this rehostable on the Azure Functions runtime. Now, the reasons we did this were threefold. We wanted the ability to be able to run Logic Apps anywhere. So anywhere the functions can run, which is either in Azure, either standalone on bare metal VMs, or you can run it as part of app service, or in Kubernetes, running in your own environments on-prem, or in a local dev environment where you're using VS Code and you've got that local dev loop of authoring and running Logic Apps locally. We have, hopefully you're aware, we have a new Logic Apps runtime, which is being containerized.
Having this side by side, I can easily spot the action that I want to investigate and go directly to that action with less scrolling in this new designer.
We'll use the Azure Communication Service Connector to send a reply back to the user with the information we just retrieved from the database. Now, what's cool about this is I'm using the exact same ACSCon connection object that I created while writing my function code. So I'm able to reuse that API connection resource across multiple services within Azure.
The team ethos is that integration really is everything to us. Everything comes back in terms of the way you build modern applications today, in terms of how they're going to connect, not just to each other, but also to people, to build experiences around the data, around the usage of those applications and the functionality that they consist of, as easy, as friction-free way as possible.
With the Logic App being able to be deployed as a separate build package, the developer and integration designer can now singularly focus on creating workflows, and other concerns such as the infrastructure as code side can be handled by the operational specialists. Our goal is to simplify the deployment process for everyone, to help people focus on what they need to do to build awesome workflows and faster.
So today, here at Build, we're pleased to announce the general availability of the new Logic Apps runtime. This marks a major milestone for Logic Apps and the biggest leap forward since the initial release of Logic App 5 years ago.